Hey everybody, Mandus here with the Maximum Muscle Report. Bob Cicherillo, the 10th anniversary of the 2017 Titan Medical Tampa Pro. What a show it was, Bob. What did you see here this weekend?
You've seen everything if you were here at this show. 10-year anniversary, Ben Weider Award given to Robin Chang.
Yep.
NPC and IFBB President Jim Mannion in attendance. Head judges Steve Weinberger and Sandy Williamson. So you had it all here, man. And I tell you what a great showing and a great result for Tim Gardner and his production company. Another A1 event here with the elite team. Absolutely.
The energy level was just out of this world. From the vendors, as soon as you walked in, it was like walking down a red carpet coming in here. George Peterson, classic physique. He's been knocking on a door. He finally busted through on the way to Olympia. Classic physique. He was an old-time bodybuilder. What do you see there?
I see a top 5 Olympian. And let me tell you, it's loaded up over there. But I tell you what, the kid is good. He's put together very well. He shows his physique to the best that he can show it. That's going to bode very well for the Olympia judges. So do not be surprised if he's into that top 5 or 6 at the Olympia.
As you always say, shows are won and lost from the back. I don't think anyone has a better back than him in a classic physique division right now.
And you know what? And that's really going to separate him from the other guys because. I mean, listen, shows are won from all over. We know that. But like as the old saying goes, everybody looks good from the front, right. Especially when you get to that level. It's when you turn around that it really makes a difference. And I tell you what, that's where he's got an advantage. And like I say, I would not be surprised if he's in that top 6.
Absolutely. Now we'll talk about something that I think we'll be talking about for years to come. I think we had a little history go on here yesterday. You had a kid who won the overall at Junior Nationals last year, finished second at USA's, and was really disappointed. And it just wasn't meant to be because he came along last week, won the overall at USA's, right, and turned around and came here a week later and won the 212.
You know what? This was good bodybuilding management. We talk about the business of bodybuilding all the time. Guys picking shows strategically, not just picking them out of the blue and going to somewhere you're going to get demolished, or you got to have a blueprint in mind of where you're going to go and what you're going to do. This was great. Derek Lunsford get on that USA stage, looked phenomenal, takes the overall, and with the Tampa just a week later, he says, you know what, why not pop in there? Already in shape, looked phenomenal. The lineup was good, but it wasn't great.
Right.
So it was a perfect opportunity for him to do exactly what he did, which was come in here, take his first pro win, and now he's going to be on the Olympia stage in a 6-week time span. This guy is going from amateur to USA champ to pro league champ, now on the Olympia stage. And I tell you what, if he can tighten up just a little bit, this physique was good. Going to have to be a little bit tighter there when you got the likes of Flex Lewis and company and Jose Raymond and those guys standing next to you. But I tell you what, if he can drop 3-4 pounds and get in there sharp, this kid's got a shot at the top 5.
Interestingly enough, he was a light heavy at USA's. He weighed in at 208 here. Yep. So for him to tighten up just a little bit should be pretty easy for him.
Yeah. Somewhere in the middle there is his winning ticket. He was able to put on a few pounds here, and he got a little bit of rebound. He only had a week.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot of time there to maneuver. He went up into the 220s and actually had to come down to this.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to be a little bit careful with that at the Olympia. You're not going to have that kind of distance to close.
No, not at all.
When it comes to standing next to the best in the world. But I'll tell you what, he's gonna bump a few guys out of that top 5, my prediction.
24 years old. What a bright future.
I got posing trunks older than him, all right?
Now we'll get on to the big story, the Open. You had Max Charles here, really thinking he was going to come in, take over the show. Pictures circulated a few weeks ago. Josh did some guest posing, and people said, oh, he's ripe for the picking. He's not going to be ready. There's no way he's going to win Tampa. He walked out on stage, and he took care of business.
I saw the same pictures, and I didn't say that. I saw those pictures, and I saw a guy that was going to come in here and do some damage, and that's exactly what he did. If you know physiques, and you got to take pictures with a grain of salt, especially in these days. Everything's sharpened, everything's this and that, morphed, all kinds of craziness out there. If you can see that, you can peel through the layers. You can see Josh has put on a crap load of muscle this past year. I swear he's 30 pounds heavier than he was last year, but he put it on in all the right spots, and it wasn't in the waistline.
Right.
That's the killer usually. Waistline was still good. Now, I'm going to say the same thing about him that I just said about Derek. This physique was good, and it was good enough to win against Max Charles and the crew. He's going to have to be a little bit tighter at the Olympia. This physique here would not place in the top 10 at the Olympia.
No.
If he sharpens up, if he comes in somewhere between 7 and 8 pounds lighter for the Olympia, and his conditioning is spot on, he wasn't far off here. But again, this is the Olympia we're talking about. You got some pretty good company that you're standing next to. It's the best in the world. He can move some guys out of that top 10. I honestly think he can contend for a top 6 spot if he can sharpen up before the Olympia.
You know, ironically, that's a conversation we had backstage when we were doing the interview. I said, top 7 or top 5. He right away said, I'm looking at the top 5.
As he should. Listen, if you don't have that mentality, then you got no business being on the Olympia stage. Right. You should absolutely be going in there to make that top 5, make a statement, move some people out of the way, and he can push. Listen, there's some other guys that are going to be there. Brandon Curry's made tremendous improvements, obviously, guys like that. All those guys are going to be in that mix. You know, past that first 4 or 5 guys, it's wide open. This is a perfect opportunity for him to make his mark at the Olympia.
You know, and he's a guy, as he posed, he got harder and harder and better and better and better. I asked him about that. He said he attributes that to he just likes to push a lot of hard, heavy weight all the time. And it pays
to
off
work for him, I'll tell you that. But you know what? It's a good thing he got harder because Max Charles was no pushover here.
Right.
Coming in and looking at the lineup, those are the 2 guys most of us pretty much figured to be battling it out. Max Charles did not disappoint.
No.
At the end of the day, he's made tremendous progress over the last 2 years, and mostly not so much with his physique, but his presentation. His presentation was what lacked a couple of years ago. It almost looked like he almost needed to get more limber because he's so muscular. He's got so much dense muscle packed onto that frame. He had to bring his legs up to match that tremendous upper body, which he did. But his presentation is miles ahead of where it was just a year ago. This was a difference in Max, and that's why he's contending for titles now instead of being in that that top 5, top 6 slot.
Right.
So hats off to Max. He did a hell of a job.
You know, and a guy who snuck into the 3-hole, Henry Pierre, not a lot of size, but wow, what pretty shape. It looks like that's really the way things are going nowadays. The day of the mass monster seems to be just about over. They want a midsection.
Josh ain't missing no meals, bro, okay?
No.
I mean, the bottom line is that you got some mass monsters out there. Henry Pierano is a diamond in the rough. He's got a huge frame.
Right.
He's very big. He's over 6 foot tall,
Yeah.
6'1", maybe 6'2". He's got a tremendously big, large frame. This guy can pack on some muscle, and I tell you what, he places it well. Posing and presentation was spot on. He earned that spot here tonight. This was a good show for Henry, and I tell you what, that's a guy you got to keep your eye out for in the next 2 to 3 years. And I tell you what, if he can pack out that frame, that's not a guy I wouldn't bet against. Making his way to his first pro win and maybe even the Olympia stage in the next year or so.
Absolutely. And then finishing it off, you had Regan Grimes, who's 24 years old. This was his 3rd show. He finished 5th in Chicago, finished 7th up in Vancouver, went out to California in between, did some training with some of the crew out there, finished 6th here. Not a bad showing, a great rookie season. Looking for some big things for him to come.
Well, I can tell you what I can look for him almost assuredly is the Rookie of the Year award at the Olympia, because he'd be hard-pressed to find somebody else who's had a more successful showing. But what a great young talent. I mean, what Regan brings to the table, first of all, he can do a vacuum.
Right.
This is a lost art, Mandus, okay? You never see this anymore.
No.
He can actually do a good vacuum at that. But he's got a good physique, nice look, good-looking kid.
Right.
Really embraces the stage and he commands the space that he's in. That's exactly the talent we need in the pro league going forward. But you got some good young bucks coming up. I tell you, the next generation looks good.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Bob, always a pleasure.
You got it.
We're wrapping it up, guys. Another fantastic Tim Gardner production. The 10th anniversary. It doesn't get much better than this. Catch everything live on Maximum Muscle Report. If you missed anything, everything is up right now. Until next time, guys, Bob, Mandus, Maximum Muscle Report, we're out.